Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Utilizing the Merchandising Matrix to Give Your Store a Lift in Sales. My name is Caprice Crawford, and I am the Education Director here at the Home Furnishings Association, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Now, before we get started, I would like to go over some of the basics for today's session. This webinar will be recorded, and all attendees will receive a follow-up email by this time tomorrow on how to access the recording. Now, you heard when you joined that you are in listen-only mode. Now, this means that all attendees except myself and our speaker are muted. Now, although we can't hear you, we do encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation using the chat box you see on your webinar control panel. This control panel usually pops up on the right-hand side of your screen when you joined. Now, only organizers can see your questions, so I will be monitoring them as the webinar progresses, and our speaker will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. Now, it is our pleasure to have Martin Roberts, owner of the Connecticut-based Martin Roberts Design, where along with a talented team, he's responsible for the look of leading furniture brands in independent home furnishing stores across the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. He's devoted to helping clients in every consumer segment maximize profits through innovative design solutions. He specializes in whole store retail packages from branding to fixtures, and his projects reflect his client-focused mission to influence consumers to buy more often. Welcome, Martin. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, thank you, Caprice. Thank you very much. My name is Martin Roberts. I'm very grateful to the Home Furnishings Association for this opportunity to give a webinar. I gave one about a year ago, almost exactly, and a totally different topic. But this year, what I thought would be helpful to you would be to give you some tips on the whole process of deciding what you carry in your stores and how you assort that merchandise and how you present it. And so I've really developed a program I call the Matrix, which is a way of thinking about the store design and store presentation, which is somewhat different than other people in the industry. So I think it's time to rethink your store, and it takes more than just updating of displays or styling or new colors to do that. I think you need a deeper dive into your business to be able to do it. And I always begin by making a list of things that have to be done. And I think the first thing you need to do is to analyze the buying trends. In other words, what are the big picture things that consumers are doing? Obviously, at the moment, they're hunkering down, but there are buying opportunities. They need more space for their kids because they're at home for the first time, probably for a long time. They need more space for virtual offices at home. And there are other needs, storage needs, and so on, which people have right now, which are peculiar to this time. But generally, we need to understand what the trends are in buying and to account for those in a way that we present our merchandise in the right quantities, in the right depth, in order to satisfy those buying trends. Then we're going to review essentially what you can do to adapt your sales to those trends. Then we're going to kind of look at how you develop what I call a matrix, which is a way of cross-referencing the space to the investment, to the merchandise mix, to what you're presenting and what priority. And then we're going to apply that to a store layout, and then we're going to show you some typical implementations. So hopefully you'll get a picture at the end of this of things that you can use. So let's first of all begin step one, analyze the buying trends of consumers. And the best place I find to go is the trade magazines, the 3 trade magazines. Furniture Today often does a study like this, which is quite helpful. Furniture World does some similar kinds of things, and the Home Furnishings Association with its magazine does similar kinds of things. So you can cross-reference those charts and graphs and information sources one against the other. Sometimes they are done in this kind of form, which I like, because as a designer, I can understand better, frankly, the pizza pie analogy and how big different segments of the business are. So let's take a look at this particular one. This is furniture and bedding sales by segment, and it's covering the total spending of 111 billion in sales. So it's big picture, but a lot of it relates to even the smallest retailer. You know, I have retailers who have 5,000 square feet, but I mean, an average retailer today is in the 35 to 55,000 square feet. And some of our retailers that we're working for are in the 100 to 150,000 square feet stage. So stores are very different sizes. I'm going to show you some big stores because they're big plans and they make it easy to understand proportions. But do bear in mind that the same principles that I'm explaining can be applied to any store of any size. So let's take the big picture here. And what we see is that 16% on this chart, the dark purple, is stationary upholstery and 16% bedding. So in other words, bedding is just the same size as stationary upholstery, and therefore a very important category to retailers. Over the last maybe 5 or 10 years, home furnishings has flourished because of the sales of mattresses has increased. 5 or 10 years ago, that percentage might have been 5%, and it's gradually crept up every year since. And now it seems to be peaking because of the home delivery of roll-up and mattresses, which, you know, like Purple or companies like that. But it's still a very large part of the business in home furnishing stores, and home furnishing stores are carrying brands like Purple now and doing very well with them. So what we see on this chart is that beyond the stationary upholstery, if we look carefully, we can see the next segment round going left is towards the 12, as it were, on a clock. You have 1% infant furniture. Most retailers that I deal with don't sell infant furniture, so we could take that out of the equation. The next is other home office furniture. And further around, you'll see there's a category called desks, which is 5%. I tend to take out this other and just focus on the quotes desks, but desks would include more furniture than desks. Swivel gliders are, you know, somewhat dated, product, not in every marketplace. Certain markets, New Orleans, certain southern markets use a lot of rocker gliders, not so much in the north. Curios, pretty much gone from the business these days. There's 1 or 2 places where people collect things and they look for curio cabinets, but not many left. Stationary chairs, definitely important. Futons, only in some markets. Reclining chairs, obviously important everywhere, particularly with the baby boomers, and a new trend to try to sell those to working women who need to have somewhere to relax. And many ads that I see now are female orientated. Motion sofas, critical category, very popular. Add it back into the 16, that brings us up to more like 20%, and then continue on round the circle. Let's look at the upholstery piece though. 16% plus sofas at 5%, plus reclining chairs at 5%. We're already at, 25%. And with a few more pieces added in, there's seating inside entertainment furniture, seating, obviously casual seating inside master bedrooms and so on. I think that things you sit on in a store represent something like 30% of total square footage of space in the store, maybe 33% of a store, about a third of a store. And some of that is custom, and the custom area is obviously much larger in many furniture stores because they're trying to differentiate from the internet by having something which is personally serviced and available in the stores in a way that you can't buy effectively on the internet. So that's a big chunk. Then the other chunk, of course, is the bedding, and the bedding now includes the power bases, and that's a big add-on, which is increasing the unit that bedding represents in terms of sales. Now, further around the circle here, we have master bedrooms, and further around still, we have youth and other bedrooms. So we add those two together, we've got really 17% in bedrooms. And by the way, if you look at occasional tables here, which is 6%, that's usually sold inside the displays of the sofas and the upholstery. So that adds to the space requirement for the upholstery area, taking it up to that sort of 33% expectation that I mentioned earlier. So if you could nail down in your displays, first of all, the upholstery area, and then secondarily, the bedding area, you probably would have nailed down 50% of your total store presentation with those two major departments, including the subcategories that we're looking at here. So I often use that as a way of planning a store. I look at the total envelope of the store, the space, and I say, you know, between a third and a half of the space should be devoted to mattresses and to stationery and to upholstery. Both of those categories are low, and that's a good thing because it means that from the front door you can see a long way into the store, and you don't have a lot of walls coming up to the front door. You know, the old days of the brands determining what the arrangements were of walls and their favored little boutiques that they created created a lot of barriers for customers to get into store, and we don't want that. We want the stores to be open and accessible and visible, and where we do have low walls, we have to have those for bedding to provide the power to get to the power bases, and we have to have low walls in the recliner area to provide somewhere to plug in the recliners, which are all have up to 3 motors in them at the moment. So all of those factors come into the thinking process. This second chart is retail spending between 2018 and 2023. And what I've tried to do here is to give you some perspective because, you know, it's all very well looking at today, but when you plan out a store, you plan it for 5 years at least. And this shows you the potential growth in 5 years. It's about 4% a year, 4, 5, 20%, which is about what the forecast is saying. One way of looking at this is that really nothing changed dramatically in terms of growth in relation to the rest of the category. Just about everything is at a similar line of growth between 22 and 19. Well, you know, curios we're going to take out of the picture anyway, so probably between 20 and 21% of merchandise increase. We can also look at this another way and say the estimated total here is 111. Well, if that was 100, then we could take these numbers underneath as percentages. So you could say bedding's at approximately 16%, sofas at 17%. So it basically relates directly to the chart that we just saw, both today and for the next 5 years. So this is a good chart to begin to look at where growth is. And obviously, when you're designing a store and trying to anticipate the business you're going to do, you want to be where the growth is. And you don't want to be where people are not carrying curios anymore because nobody's collecting all those little China figures that they used to do. Millenniums are not interested in books, so they don't have any bookshelves. So the new generation has got a much cleaner, simpler kind of interior, but they still have to sit down. So, you know, sofas and stationery upholstery and motions and recliners and even mattresses are all important parts of creating a relaxing home where you can come home and be at home. And with the new things that are going on, that's even more important. So that gives you a little bit of background of what is going on in the industry, what is going on in terms of people's buying habits, and what's going on in terms of where the business is to be found. Now you have to look at your sales for your particular store, and you have to see where the percentage is coming from, where the business is coming from. If you have, let's say, 17% of your inventory or your inventory dollars and your space and your interior presence devoted to upholstery, you might be looking at saying, well, shouldn't we increase that? Because the possibilities of getting it to 30% are much higher when you deal with a big number than they are by taking curios and trying to make them 30% of your business. So you take the big sides of the business and you make those bigger. We used to say, let's put rockets on rockets, don't put rockets on lead, because it's going nowhere. So this is a matrix which I developed, and it begins with the departments on the left-hand side: living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms, bedding, meaning mattresses, but also covering pillows and blankets now, and mattress protectors. Rugs and accessories probably should be separated. Service departments of various kinds, and a total display space of 100%. So this breaks down according to how I've split this out into the 7 or 8 groups. And you can see that the current percentage of sales for this particular retailer happen to be 51% for living rooms, bedrooms 18%, dining rooms 9%, bedrooms 10%, rugs and accessories 4%, and actual accessories are probably less than 0.5% or 1%. Service departments, and bringing us to a total. And then next to that, you have the current percentage of space that's occupied by those departments in terms of space. So let's say the store is 100,000 square feet, 3,900 square feet of it would be living rooms, and bedrooms would be, 19,000 1,900 square feet, and so on. So your percentage of space should really align directly with your percentage of sales. And if they don't, then there's something you should be looking at. So let's take the first one, and you can see in that case, you might be saying, well, our current sales is 51%, but the space utilization is only 39%. What clever retailers we are. We're getting more return on less square footage. Well, that is one way of looking at it, but on the other hand, what we've learned is that you put the best apples on the front of your store. So if you've got green apples and you only have green apples, you might be doing a pretty good business. But if you add red apples as well, you might be doing a lot more business. And if you added, apple crisp or some new variety, of apple, which gives you both a crisp taste and, you know, a blended red and green outside, you might be doing even more business. So, you know, the question here is, are you underselling what you could be selling in the hottest category in your entire store by not devoting enough square footage to something that has a high performance potential? So the next thing you do is you look at, you know, how you should adjust that. Well, you could adjust it by adding more custom upholstery displays. You could add more accent chairs. You could add more varieties. You could add leather or ultra suede or other finishes. And all of those things would help to build on the strongest category in the store. If you go back to the charts we were looking at before, you'll see that the department which has the greatest potential is still things you sit on, and things you sit on, you know, has many aspects to it. But we need to look at it as a whole and say, how can we improve what should be the best category in the entire store? That should be the easiest thing to do, to put rockets on rockets. So the second adjustment here suggested was to add more motion groups and to make a new design center which communicates that they have complimentary design service or free design service, or explains the design process, you know, a 4-step process. We visit you, we put up a scheme, we develop a package for you, we cost it, we lay out the timeline for delivery and for payments, and we'll work with you to provide, you know, a unique design center experience. Well, you know, all of those things can make a big difference, but if you put all of those things behind living rooms, and particularly behind upholstery, you'll have a bigger effect than if you put them behind dining rooms or bedrooms or other rooms in the house. So then the question is, what would be the ideal percentage? And in this example, we've just increased the amount of space by 6%, taking it from 39 to 45. And, you know, it's still 6% below the, you know, the sales forecast. And we try it out and we give it a year, and we see that we've had a big effect on selling more design center consultations, and we've sold more upholstery because of that. We've sold more accent chairs in combination with sectionals or with sofas. We've moved more upholstery into bedrooms. We've moved more upholstery into other areas of the home. So again, putting your emphasis behind the area which has the greatest potential, once you look at the national figures, once you look at your sales, once you look at where there are opportunities. Now, the second example on this sheet is really the bedrooms. And in the bedroom area, what you see is that the space is a little bigger than the amount of return would suggest that we should be making. So let's say the sales are 18%, but the space is utilizing is about 19%. Well, we need to find ways to make bedrooms less consuming of space. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to carry less product. It may be that we need to compact the displays. And one way to do that is, instead of showing full room sets, we can show those bedrooms in a flat against a wall, where you stack the bed full size. I mean, we found that short rail beds don't sell. They just confuse customers about what they're for and what they are. So you still keep a full-size bed presentation, and ideally in a queen if you can get that space. And then on the wall, stepped up behind, you might have the mirror chest, you might have the 2 nightstands, you might have a chest, you might have a lingerie chest, you might have other pieces that make up the quotes options for that package. And by stacking them flat against the wall like that on steps behind the headboard or alongside the headboard, you can get something like 50% more space from your bedrooms instead of having them as full room sets. The other way to do it is, as I say, is stacked displays, where you stack them up against a wall where you might have 6 headboards, one behind the other, and have, say, for example, upholstered headboards, and you could have 6 different styles within a space of, 6 is 36 inches, 6 inches each. You could have a stacked display. And I'll show you some examples of those towards the end of our presentation in the tips section that I have in the presentation. Next, we look at the second adjustment here. That's less space for good, more space for better, and more space for best. And so really taking bedrooms and turning it into good, better, best. So good gets very little presentation space, better gets a little bit more, maybe the beginning of a room set, and best has a full room set and probably a king size bed. So what we're able to do then is to create a ladder of price points and to create a ladder of space utilization, whereby we have the better product and the greater return on investment gets a better space. It gets a full room set, maybe 15 by 12. Maybe better is 12 by 12, and maybe good is, the flat presentation, which might be 6 by 12. And so each of the good, better, best opportunities within bedrooms is utilized, and therefore we can come up with a reduction in square footage, which brings us in here at 15% theoretically, to bring the bedrooms under control and still have a good return on our investment. Dining rooms, as you know, are very much on the wane. People are doing great rooms that have a dining facility, or an eating facility within the space. Dining rooms often are not built as part of downsized homes or of condominiums or townhouses. And what's happening is that that's reflecting gradually in the sales of dining rooms. Plus, people don't have chinas anymore because they don't have the china collection like they used to do. We need to replace the number of finishes that we show, or reduce the number of finishes that we show. And we need to reduce the number of sizes that we show in order to explain to the customers that we have the product. We can stack the tabletops vertically and against a wall again, or on a false wall. We can also arrange groups in threes so that the dining rooms are more a cross between casual dining and regular dining. So they can be used independent of dining rooms as such. And of course, solid wood now becomes a very important part of what dining rooms are about. And adding an Amish section or an American-made solid wood section often brings dining rooms to a new customer, probably a higher end, probably more expensive, probably better made, and more profitable for the retailer. We can also, in the second adjustment, add a chair wall, and I'll show you an example of that in the tips section at the end of the presentation, and a stool wall, which would be a way of showing how stools are 3 different heights for different sizes, different heights of tables, and also to show the variety in a linear way, just the depth of one seat, and show a chair wall, which can be used as a subdivider inside the store, or it can be a perimeter wall of the store, or it can be a wall to a restroom or to an office area or a design center. But some way to stack stools vertically, at least 2, so you can reach the top one down, but you can also sit on the bottom one. And that way you can begin to understand what heights they're used with, what the variety is, with metal on the back, with leather on the seat, with all wood construction, etc. And you can compare and contrast and make your decision very quickly in the limited amount of space. But so we've moved from the current percentage of 13% here to a 10%, which is moving back towards the current sales of 9%, but we're anticipating a lift in sales here because of the new presentations that we're doing and the fact that you can see them right across the store because they're more vertical. Now we look at bedding, and in mattresses, what we've realized is that many people jam the beds into small spaces and make it so uncomfortable that customers really don't like shopping for mattresses in furniture stores because they're just too crowded. So what we've found is that it takes about 100 square feet for each bed to be presented properly. It needs a fixed headboard so that the pillows don't fall off the top of the bed, and so that the customer feels comfortable when they lie down to try the bed. And also from that low wall, which is the new headboard, it allows us to bring the electricity to the bed, to have lights under the bed, to have charging units by the side of the bed for your phone, to have power bases and plugins for laptops and iPads. So what we're realizing is that allowing more space actually increases sales, and 100 square feet per bed means that if you've got 35 beds, you need 3,500 square feet, and that's the minimum for a mattress department today. Most mattress departments are in the 40 or 50 mattress range, so somewhere around the 5,000 square feet of space. And some stores that we're working on have as many as 75 beds, and the mattress area is a critical part of their business. Some of the stores are doing $500,000 a month in mattress sales. So we see increasing the spacing and the quality options, increasing the displays of pillows and protectors, and selling a protector with every bed is obviously a 10% or so increase in sales right there. And increasingly weighted blankets and blankets made of bamboo and other kinds of earth-friendly materials are coming into the market strongly through the home furnishings retailers, not through the department stores, which are waning in their business anyway. So now we come to rugs and accessories, and in the rug area, what we're seeing is added celebrity branded rugs. I'll show you that in our tips section. Collections and display on rods instead of on swinging arms. It's always very difficult to light those swinging arms, and they always end up by being very dark departments, and they are unwieldy and not very appealing to the passing by customer. It's only the person who's really involved in buying rugs that wants to get in there and swing those huge arms. So we want to hang more rugs on the perimeter of the store and display more in the room sets. And we think that 5% would be a good amount to use for that. Again, I'll show you some pictures. Service departments. Obviously, there are other service projects that you have and that you sell to your customers, whether it's white glove delivery, warranties, sales, warranties of finishes and materials and so on. And we also need to reduce the amount of non-retail space in a store so that the employees are out on the floor, they're dealing with customers, and at the same time we might add a cafe or a bar or some other kind of amenity to customers. Back in the 90s, when I designed the Barnes & Noble stores, we put in the Starbucks, and the Starbucks has been incredibly successful for them, and today it's probably one of the only profit makers they have in the bookstore still. And more retail stores are looking at ways to feed their customers and provide them with beverages. We've designed a number of stores recently where the retailer has provided a up and over door, and we can actually drive in with a food truck and serve food during critical events and create events in that way. Those are new kinds of opportunities, putting in amenities for customers that are interesting and pleasurable and an amenity that customers can enjoy. So those are some of the things that happen on this chart, and different ways of thinking. Should we be bigger than we are? Should we be smaller than we are? Should we do new kinds of services? How could those new services add to our bottom line? So the next thing that we look at is really developing the space matrix. And what we do is we take the estimates that you have made, basis the information we feed you, and we begin to look at the percentage of space. And in the first column here, you see the type of department. And in front of that, actually, we have a color grid. And the color grid is the grid which is then used in the planning of the store and the space in the store. So you can identify the particular space very quickly when you look at the plans. In the third column, we have the square foot requested. Now, in that case, it might be the square footage of your existing store. And then in this particular example, there was no existing store in that location. So we say not applicable. But on the fourth column, what we have is the proposed square footage basis, all of the things we've already talked about, understanding the market, understanding the projection of sales basis, other retail stores owned by this retailer, also based on the percentage that the industry thinks that the business is going to come from over the next 5 years. Then we look at the department percentage that it represents of the total square footage in the store, typical size of room sets, and room set numbers in order to formulate the look of the store. Down at the bottom here, you have customer service, offices, restrooms, receiving rooms, corridors, electrical rooms, etc., and the percentages of all of those, so that we can get an idea what the total store commitment to space is. Then, when we've got that commitment, we have to apply it to a store. And here's a good example of it applied to a store. This store is in Kentucky, and is an example of a store on a corner with a corner entrance here. And this corner entrance allows customers to come in and proceed right through the center of the store. At the back of house here, BOH, we have this gray area at the back of the store. So if you study this layout, what you begin to see is that there is another entrance over here, and that entrance is an entrance where customers come in to buy mattresses. And this dark blue area that's in here, powder blue area, I guess, is the main mattress department. And behind it, the lighter blue behind here, is the bedroom department. So customers coming in for a mattress can see bedrooms and are tempted to buy those too. And customers coming in the main entrance and turning to the right, which is the 75% of people do, will see both the mattresses and the bedroom. If they're destinational on bedrooms, they can come this way, shop for a bedroom, and before they leave, they get tempted to another mattress to make the package a bigger sale. And this entrance here is manned by people who are mattress experts who deal with customers who are coming from the left or from the center, or even returning back on this corridor here. So they know where to watch for customers coming for this major department. Now, in the center of the store, what you see here is this sort of raspberry color area that's in the middle here is the design center. And the reason the design center is there is because we're trying to differentiate between the products that are on the internet and the products that are custom made in the store, where there's more profit for the retailer, but there's also more uniqueness for the customer. Any customer shopping in the rest of this area around here is liable to, be drawn into the design experience. And on the right-hand side over here, we have stationary upholstery. On the left-hand side over here, the slightly gray-blue color, we have the motion department. And so customers can be funneled to a particular look, and it might be, today, it might be a sectional with 2 recliners built in over in this section over here. And these, of course, would be generally mostly electrified pieces. So we have to be able to consider how we place these departments in relation to the power that has to come to service them. Then over here, you see a recliner department, and this recliner department is towards the back of the store. It's a destinational department, but it's close to motions. So if customers are looking for motions, they might see a sectional with 2 motions in it and prefer to buy that than buying 2 recliners. And gradually, this recliner department will probably get smaller as the number of baby boomers decreases, and as the millenniums who are buying the new sectionals are likely to increase. And then a destinational department here, this kind of peppermint area, is for dining rooms. And dining rooms, there are almost no formal dining rooms. There may be, 4 to 6 at the most along this perimeter wall here, where the cabinetry can be mounted against the wall and you don't see the back of it. And these are sort of double dining rooms with a smaller round table in front and then a 4 to 6 person behind. So you can see the same piece in different scales and different finishes as you come around. And then 4 person dining rooms here, and then maybe a couple of specialty dining rooms on the end over there. And back here, this darker color back here is essentially youth. And youth, we know, is a destination. People find it, even if it's the back of the store, and they have to walk past all the other product to be able to get to it. And they can get directions from someone in the design center here who can tell them exactly how to get there quickly, and they can get in and out of that space. Now you'll notice that there's a number of circles in the aisles here, and what we call those is roundabouts or speed bumps. And the idea is to kind of slow a customer down and have them wander off into the merchandise on either side, not just get faster and faster as they walk down long straight aisles. And we've tried to avoid long straight aisles everywhere in this store, even though they tend to be helpful for staff to get around quickly and for merchandise to be delivered to individual departments. Hard surface on the aisles, of course, because of delivery carts tearing up other materials, and encouraging customers to step off into the carpeted areas that are more enjoyable to spend time in. You'll notice that this store was originally a grocery store, and it was just this corner location. And they added on another store here where the mattress department is, and they added on another store over here where the dining department is. And that provided some different changes in ceiling heights and with lighting systems and air conditioning systems and many other complications that we had to deal with. So part of the layout here is consumer orientated, and some of it is construction and just practically laid out to make the most of the space. The back of house over here, the warehouse and delivery area, the trucks can pull up in here and offload into these gray areas. And then the offices and restrooms and so on tucked to the back here. We've got the restrooms away from the rest of the store because they're better placed in somewhere where, as we move the store over the years, we don't have to move expensive restrooms. And they also form a nice destination. Customer can come here and ask where the restrooms are, and they're just very close by. So it's convenient for customers from that sense. And it's also convenient to do the plumbing for the conference room and the place where staff can have coffee. So total scheme here uses the same principles that we talked about merchandising and display, and that's how we've come to those conclusions. I don't know if Caprice is still around. Caprice, are you still around? Doesn't sound.
I am here, sir.
Yeah. How
we have about 10 more minutes. We have about 10 more minutes.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought is, that this kind of plan is very nice and easy when it comes to a straight line plan like that, but we can use, more organic kind of complex plans. This is for Furniture Mall of Kansas in Kansas, and it's been a very successful store for them. Entry over here where the red cafe is at the entrance, and you notice the use of cafe here. And then you come in here and there's a marketplace at the entrance here. And then further into the store, there's customer service. So the customer service people can see everyone coming in the store. All of the light yellow colors are upholstery, and the gray tone in here is motion. So basically the first third of the store is laid out as upholstery. As you get further into the store, you get to recliners in a circle over here. You get to mattresses in a circle over here. Amish in a circle over here in the gray area towards the back of the store. And rug department and flooring department on the right-hand side here, with clearance tucked in along the side here as a destination. At the back of the store here, the gray areas are the receiving and warehousing area, and a customer service desk here for pickups. So customers could come around the back of the store, come in and see somebody here, get something from the warehouse, put it in their car and drive away. And of course, the deliverers to the store could take the same kind of approach. Again, restrooms tucked in the back of the store where they don't interfere with any changes that might happen in the retail setting. Rugs up at the front of the store here in this purple area where we've got impulse buy kinds of things. So customers coming in on the right-hand side over here would come past the cafe, might even get a little free ice cream or a very small bottle of water or something, and then proceed around the inner circle and come back out of the front door. Or they could take the long route, which is the ring road that takes you around through every one of the outer perimeter circles and then back to the front door. And customer service in this kind of quiet zone in the middle here. And dining rooms in this purple area here that's kind of wrapped around the outside or between upholstery and bedrooms. And bedrooms, very strong bedroom department doing huge numbers in this particular location. So that kind of approach brings us to a look like this. So we have to visualize how the space works, how the movable walls work, how the signage works, how the customer will get a slow reveal of all of the wonderful things that are available inside the store. And we have to implement that with the lighting system, the plumbing system, the flooring system, the color materials, the finishes, and create an experience which draws customers into those curvy walkways that kind of slowly reveal what each department is about and pull you through the space. And it's a very attractive space, and the floor itself is just a polished concrete here. And then, of course, stepping off into the carpeted areas on either side. And then a focal point in the store, which is a virtual aquarium. It's just TV sets that look like they're an aquarium, but you have the feeling that there's something rather exciting and interesting happening in the middle of the mattress department, which just gives us a background of kind of quiet interest. So people can lie on the beds in a semi-gloom and not feel uncomfortable. And at the same time, it's very relaxing, and the sound of water and so on happening inside that space. Now, just a few tricks that we talked about. I talked about, for example, flattening the bedrooms. This is one way to do that, so that they take up a lot less space. And this is a display in a Mathis store that we designed. And you can see how the mirror chest, the bachelor chest, and the nightstand are worked into that display, and it takes a lot less space than a real room set would. Then, for example, we talked about rugs and the new way of presenting rugs on basically like towel bars hanging from the ceiling, and then branding them with Magnolia Home or with Ellen DeGeneres or the twins, and how you can use the branding to help sell the product and present a quality story, and yet at the same time tell a color story, which sells rugs. Rugs sell by color. And then, of course, how we can stack merchandise and increase the density of merchandise on the perimeter. So that's my presentation. I hope you've learned some things from it, and you've got a good takeaway from that. And if there's anything you need further, please email me at martin@mrobertsdesign.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have now, or if you think of something later and you want to get it to me, I'd be happy to do that too. Caprice,
Great.
back to you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Martin. We will begin our Q&A portion. So I would like to encourage all of you to submit any questions now and throughout the Q&A portion. I do have a question that came up. Martin, on the schematic that you had of the furniture store in Kansas that had a separate entrance for the mattress department, was
Yes.
that branded on the outside any differently, and how was it branded on the outside?
Yeah, it was branded with the name of the company, Furniture Fair and Mattress Store, and that was the branding that they used. And we developed the idea of having that separate mattress entrance because we've seen that it does have a dramatic effect on the amount of sales that a store does. It's questionable whether it's the mattress entrance that's providing that extra boost to sales, or whether the fact that there is an entrance forces the retailer to devote staff to servicing that entrance, which means there's always somebody in the mattress department. I'm never quite sure whether it's the chicken or the egg, which came first. It could be either, but the net is that if you have a separate entrance, sales often increase by double digits.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And it doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. So I do want to thank everyone that attended today, and Martin, for your knowledge and expertise that you gave us today. In this time, it does give us some time to do some remodeling and some rethinking of our stores. So thank you for that. And I would like everybody to mark their calendar for our next webinar, which will be Wednesday. Actually, it will be Wednesday, March 8th, and we will be talking about the offline to online matrix sales phenomenon, the multi-touch sales phenomenon embracing the online to offline model. To read this description and register for this webinar, please visit our website at myhfa.org. Click on the Resources tab and then go straight to Education. Again, this entire webinar, including the question and answer portion, has been recorded and will be available to watch on demand by this time tomorrow. Everyone that registered will receive an email from the Home Furnishings Association that tells you how to access the recording. If you do have any questions for the association or for Robert, you can also reach us at 1-800-422-3778 or through our website at myhfa.org. Thank you all and have a fabulous day.
Thank you, Caprice.